Hi guys, welcome back to the Dwell Well Family Show. This is episode 2, and in this episode, Dwayne and I talk about our latest project, building a chicken coop, and how we navigate involving our little ones in family projects. We talk about establishing rhythms with family and with health, and a little bit of the progress over perfection mindset. Enjoy! I just wanna see the light.
Welcome back to another episode of what we are calling the Dwell Well Show. For those of you that don't already know, I'm Dwayne, and this is my lovely wife.
I'm Aubrey.
And today we're going to talk a little bit about some of the projects that we've been doing and just our week.
Yeah. So if you guys missed the first episode, we got chickens recently and we got a dog recently. And so we very quickly needed to build a chicken coop. We did not have that built before we got them. So that was a very big project this weekend. Dwayne, kind of tell them where we started, what our idea was, and then what we ended up doing.
Yeah, so we talked a little bit about this last week. We had a shed on the land we were just going to drag back and turn it into a coop. And then thinking about it, I didn't want to. I wasn't sure, I didn't know that it wasn't going to fall apart or that there were not wasp nests in it or that we weren't going to drag a giant nasty thing in our yard, a bunch of holes in the grass and all that fun stuff, and down the driveway. So
yeah, I was just going to say, it's like, how far would you say from our house to the front of the property?
I mean, it's a few acres, 3 acres probably.
Okay, I was going to say 5, but you have to drive down we would have to have dragged the shed down a gravel driveway. So we just decided, we decided we'll leave it there. It's actually right by where our garden is and possibly use it as a garden tool shed in the future, which would make a lot more sense than dragging one here.
Yep.
So
instead, I looked up lumber prices, which have dropped some. Still not great, but not
they could go down.
Definitely not as bad as they were. So we just decided to build one. So this weekend we started on it and we got it all framed out and got a roof on it. So I can add in the video here. And you can kind of see where we're at on it. But we spent the weekend working on building one from scratch because I just thought that would be a better idea.
So, which brings us to our primary topic, what we want to talk about this week, which is doing projects as a family. I think especially for families with little ones like us, it's very tempting and more appealing to just send your kids away to work on a project like this or a building project like this if that's possible, or just wait until the cracks, like the evening time or nap time. And we definitely take advantage of those.
But we're also tired at those times too.
Yeah. But another reason, we really want our kids to be involved in what we're doing. And we want them to learn skills that we're learning at the same time. And we want everything that we do to be sort of a team effort. So we know that can be so hard. We have a 5-year-old.
We are not perfect at that yet. We're working towards that. But we're learning as we go.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And you guys will hear some good stories, I'm sure. But we have a 5-year-old, a 2-year-old, and an 8-month-old. And so that can be challenging, especially with our 2-year-old. I think that's kind of the most challenging age.
Now. The 5-year-old can be because he wants to be involved in everything and just does things sometimes without asking. And so that can be difficult. But the hardest is the 2-year-old because he can't do very much and he just wants
to be involved.
And so he can get a little whiny.
Yeah. So we've done a lot of DIY projects over the last 4 years since moving here. And then again, since moving into this house. And we've had a lot of come to Jesus moments as a family over those projects.
Still have them.
Oh my gosh. They bring out DIY projects, bring out all the real deal issues.
I promise I am not a mean person, but I don't know.
Yeah.
We do DIYs.
This project in particular definitely showed us a little bit about our differences as a couple, and then also our strengths and how we can work together with that. But before we get into that, why don't you tell us, you're doing a lot better job, I think, now getting the kids involved than when we first started doing projects.
Yeah.
So tell us like about your mindset.
Well, I think the big thing is like going into it knowing that you're going to have them involved and knowing that it's going to take longer. I'm kind of the king of, I'm getting it done this weekend.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. And so half the time I either don't do it well, or I don't let the kids be involved, or I just yell at them and tell them, go away because you're getting in my way. Used to. So going into this, knowing this is going to take longer, I'm going to have him involved, at least our 5-year-old, try to involve the other ones as well. You have to go into these projects knowing what are things he can do. I'm not going to hand him a saw and let him go around with that.
Please don't.
But he's pretty good at drilling things. He's pretty good at grabbing screws for me or going and getting the glue, things like that. So going in with an idea of like, here's maybe 5 things that I know I'll be doing today that he can help with. So I can already know this is the part where he gets to help, instead of just, no, stop, go away. And then realizing 10 minutes later when he goes to watch a show or play somewhere else because dad was mean, we know that this is maybe the place where we're going to use that. So
Yeah. And okay, I don't want you guys to think that the 5-year-old was like out there helping with the coop the entire time. Another part of this that I think made like the parts that were successful on this project this weekend was us just having a conversation beforehand. Okay, how can I support you? What's your role in this project and what's my role? And like for us, Dwayne is a lot more skilled at using power tools. I know there are so many like wonderful women carpenters, but that's just not us. He's way more skilled, right?
It's not her yet.
So I love to be out there like planning and like doing the project with him, but we kind of came to the realization like, okay, like we started this Friday night, me are gonna have to be inside cooking dinner, like really coming outside but managing the kids. Like that was my role. And I think just going into it knowing this is my job, this is gonna help support him to get this project done better. That was really helpful. But then Saturday,
for the first part,
Saturday, I think I just kind of forgot that, and we had the kids out there, and he was just like, "I'm gonna get this entire chicken coop done in one day in 100 degrees."
The kids aren't here, so it's just me. I can do it. I can get it done.
They were out there. They just weren't like, but they weren't like needing you.
Trying to help.
Yeah, they weren't needing you. So yeah, that really turned into a little bit of a failure.
A redone roof. That's what it turned into.
Yeah. So something that I think, so basically what happened is just the roof, like Dwayne was just trying to do it really fast and skip some things. And probably my skill is like the math. Not that Dwayne can't do math, but
I don't like to.
He just doesn't like to like take his time all the time.
Well, I this is how I described it to Aubrey when we had our discussion Saturday night about our strengths and weaknesses and why sometimes we need to ask help from the other one for certain things. And I told her my strength sometimes, let's say I didn't measure it right, or let's say something was bowed or something wasn't going to work. If I can just crank on it a little bit, and I know I can put it together, it's going to work, it's going to be fine, but it's not going to be great. And so we realized that things work better when Aubrey helps with those things, the measurements and things like that.
The details,
and makes me do them, that I don't have to crank on it to make it work.
Yeah. And it's okay to go back and fix what you messed up. I think we were like, oh no, we've already wasted so much money if we don't use this. And then like when we thought about the piece that we had messed up, it was like, well, it was 3 2x4s. So it's like $15, which stinks, but it's not like $100. And so, yeah. So I think God really showed us, just again, we've learned this a million times about like life is not an emergency. We shouldn't be like viewing our life as these big like mountains of just like finish this thing and then coast. Like, we want to view our lives as just a continual process. And we're continually doing just a little bit here, a little bit there, but we're doing it consistently, and that's turning into big results. So, yeah.
Well, and I think this weekend we had a long discussion after a nice fight that we got into, and it ended up being good. But perspective was everything with this, because for me, I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, and I don't like doing things I'm not good at right away. If I'm not the best at it, I just don't want to do it. And so for me, it's very easy for me to get discouraged. If Aubrey comes out and looks at something and is like, "Did you measure that?" I'm immediately just like, I don't want anything to do with this anymore. I'm never doing a project again. That's kind of my first go-to. Today, figuring out the perspective really is, I know that that's not my strength. Looking at the little details and making these little measurements are not my strength. I need to ask for help with that. And then it's not discouraging when she comes out and looks at something. It's, oh, good, she's going to double check this and make sure I measured it right, so I don't have to do it twice.
Yeah.
Right? And so instead of that, easily fall into the old, like, well, I just suck, so I might as well just quit my job and life and just you take care of things, I guess, because I'm not good at anything.
Please don't.
No, I realize now that when you come out, I don't have to be nervous that there's going to be something wrong. I need to think of it more like, oh, this is a good opportunity for Aubrey to double check some things that she may need to.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's like one of the beautiful things about marriage is that we are often attracted to people that are opposites of us in many things, but complement us. And so, yeah, he is really good at just getting things done. And sometimes it can take me forever to do really little things because I'm like really planning out and trying to do it perfect, like trying to do it really well. Yeah, like chickens. So, oh gosh, our chickens are doing great. We still have 5 chickens. They're a week and a half old. Yeah, I looked at, I like really gave them all of the supplements I think you can give and I still like have maybe overanalyzed their droppings and things like that. And Dwayne's like, okay, I'm like, okay, I think they might have coccidiosis because that's one of the like diseases they tell you to watch out for when they're little. And you're like, I'm like, okay, I'm going to check their poops. That poop looks a little weird. Let me Google, which is ironic because I'm really not like this with our kids. Like I'm not a helicopter mom.
Yeah.
But yeah, then Dwayne's like, I've talked to like several of my patients and the consensus is chickens are great. Like we just don't really do anything with them and they're great and they're easy. And I'm like, why am I making this so hard?
Basically, Aubrey's afraid to fall in love with her chickens in case something goes wrong.
Stop. But so anyways, I finally was like, okay, I'm doing the preventative things you're supposed to do. I'm we're putting aloe powder in their water. And we're also giving them like apple cider vinegar. We have like some probiotic stuff in there. Coop, which is really just a tub right now. And I'm realizing that I'm just going to let it go. It's all fine and see how they do. And we're checking on them and they all seem like they're not lethargic or anything like that. Yeah, they're growing. They're doing good. But we're really excited about them. And I have stepped back a little bit on that. Yeah.
Also, here's something that was really encouraging to me this weekend. Going back to doing projects with kids. So Saturday was not a good day. We got, both of us, but we got mad at Judah, our oldest, several times because he was just, trying to do things. We got mad at our middle several times because he was just trying to do things. And nothing was crazy, but it wasn't a fun, enjoyable thing. It was so cool the other day. I was telling a patient about doing a project with one of our kids, and I was like, it was so fun to help, like, get the kids involved and let them help. And she was like, so what's cool is that you sound like you genuinely mean that, because most people don't mean that. It's annoying when their kids help, but you really meant it. And then Saturday comes along and I'm like, man, I really messed this one up. But anyways, Saturday wasn't great. Today, all day long, our oldest was like, Daddy, can we go work on the chicken coop? Let's go out and work on the chicken coop. Can we do more work on the chicken coop? It's all he wanted to do. So even though we screwed up yesterday and it wasn't the best day, that's all he wanted to do today. So like, even when you mess up sometimes in these projects with kids, you're going to feel like the worst. But it's okay. Like, he still had fun and wanted to do it.
You just don't give up on your rhythms and the things that you're trying to do. And you just like keep improving everything that you're doing and learning from it. Like we just had a talk Saturday night. Okay, how can we make this better when we do these projects? How can we like communicate better, and how can we work together better, where we're like using our strengths and our weaknesses and combining them together to meet the need. And so that's just, I think everything like in your family too. I think as young parents and just a young couple, again, everything was all like pass or fail. Like, okay, we got in a fight, we just fail at marriage. Like or our child disobeyed this one time, or we just had a really bad day where we yelled at our kids. And then we just let it go into this spiral, because that's sort of the way the world thinks, is it's all like, it's black and white. Everything is black and white in the world's view of things. And we realize that we're on a journey, and it's progress, not perfection. And in order for there to be progress, you have to be willing to try, and to try again and again and again. And that might sound cliche, but try again doesn't mean these big tries, right? It just means like these little things that you do every day and you get better and better at it. Trying to think of a good example of that with our family, of like a rhythm that we've started to kind of implement in our family that we've tweaked. Think
like just a rhythm
that
one thing that we have gotten a pretty good rhythm with, and we continually try to do well with, we always try to do our dishes every night.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's like a good,
it's a dumb
simple
little thing, but for Aubrey, it's like, I know that when she wakes up in the morning and the dishes are done, she's going to start her day off well. And when they're not, the day's not starting well, and everything goes downhill from there.
Yeah.
And it's like such a simple little thing. And it's not that the dishes are the biggest thing, but the dishes are the first thing in the morning. Mm-hmm. And then when that goes wrong, something else goes wrong, and you're already a little agitated, and then something else. And it just, that was one of our first rhythms that we started that seemed to really help.
Yeah, because I'm sure if you guys are like an older couple, you're probably like, oh yeah, like we know all about this. Yeah. But when we were first married, really it would just be like the dishes would keep piling up, and then it would just be like a big thing where we just get aggravated with each other, and we just had never had the conversation of like, how can we work on this as a team and set an actual plan, like an actual rhythm that we're going to do. It was more just like, our fights back then would just be like me getting mad at him, and he would be like resolved to help more, but there would be no tangible plan that we came up with.
It's just like, okay, I'll clean the whole house every day.
Yeah.
No, you won't.
And so we finally realized, like, when are we going to do the dishes realistically? And we're like, let's do that in the evenings. That's your job, Dwayne.
And that's part of learning each other, because Aubrey really struggles at doing anything if her space is not in order. She can't pay attention to her thing that she needs to do if the space she's in is not in order. Mm-hmm. I couldn't care less.
Yeah, no.
You can literally pile trash on my head, and I'm like, it's kind of annoying, but I can still do my thing. And so it was hard for me, because I'm like,
stop. I got to tell this story. So, yes, you can pile trash on his head. When I first met Dwayne, we all had like dorm rooms where it was like you had 4 people living in your room, but you got your own room. It was pretty we were pretty spoiled with that. But when I first visited his dorm room, his little room within their, pod, whatever. Yeah. First of all, it's like a tiny room, and it's made for twins, but somehow, because the track team was like super fancy, I don't know, they got better treatment. He had a full or queen? Full-size bed in this tiny room. And then in the little space that he had, there was no visible carpet. He just had school paperwork like all over the floor. It was all over the floor. You couldn't I'm like, I can't even come in here to say hi to you with this space. So yeah, I had to like clean his entire, that was, whew.
So moral of the story,
We've
it
come a
doesn't
long
bother
way.
me. I don't care.
Yeah.
And so we had to learn each other where it was like, I don't care if the dishes are dirty. I'm going to get my thing done. But if Aubrey cares if the dishes are dirty and she can't get her thing done, so then she's mad, my life isn't great.
Stop.
And so it makes sense for me to just do the dishes, whether I care about it or not, because I know it's going to help me in the long run and her.
So this is all just like a lot of extra on rhythms and how we can just practice these little things and they can build on top of each other. And it's really the same things, the same idea with health. Mm-hmm. We don't have this mindset of like, I'm just going to do this really hard and fast program and then, get this X, Y, or Z result. Instead, we have this mindset of, I'm going to practice all of these little habits, starting with one tiny thing that I know will make me feel better. And then they're going to like cumulatively build on top of each other. So that's what we're just trying to do with our lifestyle. And so even getting a dog and a chicken, like some of the first logistical things that came, not a chicken, 5 chickens, excuse me, came to my mind were, okay, what are my rhythms going to be with these animals so that I can make them just an easy part of my life? And so now I know I wake up early. I take the dog on my morning walk that I was already doing. Now I just take the dog there. I feed the dog while we're eating breakfast, and then I feed her again while we're eating dinner. So I know that during nap time is when I go change my chickens' water and their feed. And so I just sort of incorporated, it's easier, I guess, to bring other things into your life that are valuable when you already have these established rhythms in your day.
Well, and I think that those rhythms help with those things that you're doing, like the projects with the kids. Mm-hmm. Our 5-year-old has chores. Okay. And his chores are things like make your bed in the morning, brush your teeth, things like that. Yeah. And he has surprisingly taken pretty well to that rhythm. He does it on his own, or he'll tell me like, I have to do my chores first, or things like that. And it's really translated into projects and things like that, I feel like, because we've gotten him so much into these are your things that you do and you need to do those. So now he just listens better. If I say, hey, Judah, for this project, I need you to go get me a handful of these screws, and then I need you to put this over there, and then I need you to do this. He's so used to being in the rhythm of like doing this, this, and this that he can do those 3 things in a row now, versus used to, I would just be like, can you please just not do anything? Because he was crazy. So I am seeing it start to translate into these other things that we're doing. Yeah,
and even that, like the first thing we started with was making his bed, and that was all we did. And I did most of the bed making. And, we very slowly over time got him making his own bed. Like, I mean, this took maybe a year. Yeah. But we built other things onto that one habit. So.
And now he's asking, like, can I have chicken chores? Can you give me some chicken chores?
And that's kind of the mindset of life, and the mindset we realized we need to have about this project is just tackle one piece at a time. Mm-hmm. The chickens don't need to move out of their little tub until...
Although one did get out today.
4 weeks.
And so I had to cover it with some harbor mesh, so... Gotta get to building,
but we have 4 or 5 weeks till they're even able to go outside. So this episode was really just we really want to talk about how to incorporate your family into projects, and then also just the mindset of the long, slow journey, but getting started. Just get started and rework it every single day. You don't have to have it right or perfect to get started.
Yeah. That's why I think big takeaways, have grace on yourself and your family. Yeah. Is, the big one. Plan ahead a little bit to where, there's certain things that you can do or the kids can do and things like that. Understand you're going to take more time doing this, but it's worth it. It's so, so worth it. I think that's Probably, the big three. So.
Yeah, I think that's right. So let us know if you guys have anything specific you want us to talk about or you want to hear about. And we will see you guys here next week.
See you next week.
'Cause I just wanna see the light.